Welcome back to Heartwood Turning in the Stable Studio. Um, Most of you will know that I have a Robert Sorby Patriot Chuck. I also have a couple of other chucks that have the Allen key tight fitting. And I have sometimes have a bit of difficulty getting them off the lathe. So today I'm going to make a tool to overcome that. So let's go over to the lathe and have a look at the issue first, and then we'll move on to the tool after that. Okay, let's look at the Robert Sorby Chuck then. This is the Patriot Chuck, and I've got it locked onto the spindle, and there is no method of removing this chuck, no space for a spanner or anything else. So the only way I can get to remove from the chuck is to use the chuck key, open the jaws up, as I'm showing you now, insert the chuck key in, lock the spindle, and give it a clunk. So that successfully takes it off, but I'm a bit worried about the fact that that may well be causing damage to either to the jaws or to the scroll itself inside the chuck. So my thought is to make a tool to help remove it. And I feel that the pinion is a stronger point. However, this Allen key that's supplied has a ball end on it, which doesn't allow you to get any leverage on the pinion itself. So with that in mind, I thought of using a standard Allen key, a standard cranked Allen key. And I happened to have one which fitted the same size and it fits the chuck. So what I do is I put it in and I open the jaws slightly so as it has a little bit of maneuverability. Lock the spindle and then give it a little tap with the mallet. There's not currently enough leverage the way it is, hence the need for a handle. So we give it a little tap there, and that just unlocks it from the spindle. So that was successful, and I feel that that's liable to cause less damage than the putting it between the jaws and clunking it. So with that in mind, we'll make a tool for it. So let's remove the chuck and have a look at the parts for the tool. 3 bits, a piece of wood, that's a piece of ash, the Allen key, which has the one end has been slightly shortened to give it a little bit more leverage in the chuck itself. We're going to insert that into the piece of wood, and we'll use a little ferrule. So it's just a standard wood turning handle, if you like. So let's have a step center on that end, and I'll put a step center at the other end, and remove that board. Bring up the tailstop. I've already marked the center of this. We'll pop it in there. Pop it in there. And the first thing I want to do is bring it around. So lock everything down. That's nice and tight. Gently lock up your spindle. You don't need to jam that in tight or really hard. Bring up our banjo with the tool rest on it. Make sure that this can spin freely before we switch the lathe on. It can. We'll use our spindle roughing gouge just to bring this down to round. Step off to one side and start the lathe. At a fairly slow speed or at 0, turn your speed up. I'm going to wear my face shield initially. I always wear a face shield initially when I'm roughing out, just in case any big chips fall shoot off this. Everything's nicely locked down. Speed's there. We're on a spindle. It's only a 2-inch spindle. And we're up to 1,000 revs there. Rub the bevel, pick up the cut, and just remove some timber. So there's 2 grips you could use here. You could use the underhand grip, which is keeping the tool on the tool rest. Or you could use the overhand grip, which is just pushing the tool down onto the tool rest. The thing you need to remember about when you're roughing out is that you don't want to get a gap here that is bigger than your finger. So let me just stop the lathe a second. And see now the lathe is stopped and off, my finger's getting caught in there quite easily. I'll demonstrate that with a pencil. So that pencil could get caught in there. We don't want that to happen to our finger. So we'll move the tool rest in a little bit closer. Again, make sure it can spin freely. Switch it on. And we'll turn the speed up a little bit more. I'm going to anchor the tool on the tool rest. I'm going to rub the bevel, and I'm just going to lift the hand up, my hand up, my right hand, until I pick up a cut. And the important thing to notice, the important thing is that where the tool is contacting the wood is supported directly on the tool rest. And the other thing to note is that I'm not pushing the tool along the tool rest. Let me just show you from this camera. I'm not pushing using my hands. Tool is locked into my side. Rub the bevel, lift the handle to pick up the cut, and then just transfer my weight from my right foot over to my left foot, keeping the tool at the same angle all the way across. Just like that. We're getting pretty close to flat now, or round now. That's us down to round. Next thing we need to do is get this mounted into the chuck, and we'll be drilling a hole for the Allen key to be recessed into. So let's get on with that. Let me just quickly spin that up, make sure it's okay. That'll be fine. Set our Jacob's chuck, and next thing we need is the correct size of drill bit. So across the edges of this is 9mm. We'll just speed through the drilling process, pretty straightforward. And all we're doing basically is making sure we're getting the right depth, getting the Allen key into the right depth, and just drill it out with a 9mm drill bit. And then we'll carry on with making the handle. So just pop that cone center in there, and that'll just keep it nice and stable, and everything should be fine. Change my tool rest to a smaller tool rest. Simply because the chuck's in the way now. I want to bring that to there. I now want to bring this down because we have our ferrule that needs to sit on here. So we'll mark where the ferrule's going. Can make it slightly deeper there. And the inside measurement of the ferrule, in fact it's not, it's 17mm. I now would need to take this down to 17mm. I'm just going to use my skew for that. Speed up. Just do a little V cut there. Take a little bit off of that. So we'll just start using the skew, and we'll do a peeling cut just to remove some timber. And if you don't want to use a skew, I'll show you a different method in a moment. Just move that tool rest over just a fraction. Just check that for size. Got a fair bit to go yet.
Now if you don't want to use a skew, you could use a bearing and parting tool. Same thing, or a standard parting tool, just by using the same cut. Check your size again. Good to go yet. A little bit more. Double check the size. We're pretty close there now. So that's that. And if you just use that bearing parting tool, just to bring that down. Let's just check the size again. 17mm. So that should be fine. We can test that just by popping the ferrule on. There we go. I give that ferrule just a little tap on the end. That's the ferrule into place. That's good. We can just finish this off now. And all we want to do really is put that back in there and shape our handle a little bit. So we'll just use a skew, seeing it's the hand.
You could of course use another tool, a spindle roughing gouge or a standard spindle gouge to shape your handle, but I just used the skew here as a matter of practice basically.
And that's that down to there. Just a little planing cut. Move that tool rest over a little bit. And we'll take it, go to there. That should be long enough for this handle. Just take a V cut in there. Remove some excess timber there. We'll put a little cove in the middle of this. So we'll work our way downhill.
And we'll just use the heel of the skew there to do a little peeling cut, just to get myself a little bit of depth so I'm not cutting uphill, and then go back to the planing cut.
Just try to make the handle a little bit more ergonomic. And just round this corner off now. Get rid of some of that in there. Fine parting tool. It's almost all we need. Just smooth this off now. Try and get a nice finishing cut all the way along there. Down to the bottom of the... That's good there. Back to the other side. Almost replicates a Robert Sorby handle. A little bit. There's a little bit there, just a little lump. So we'll just take another tiny little bit out of that. That's much better. And all my Sorby handles have a double line about here somewhere. And one about there. So what we'll do is we'll just quickly try that. See, does that fit our hand good? Actually, it feels quite nice on my hand. So the next thing to do then is just sand that off. Bring up the extractor. Oops. Switch on the extractor. Level 180 grit. Just give that a quick rub over. Won't take very much. Up to the edge. And we can give that a little buff up as well if we wanted. Oops, catch that. And we'll finish off that little nub on the end just in a moment or two. Slow that down, and I'm going to add some Danish oil to that. So I'm just going to use some Liberon Danish oil on it.
To save you the having to wait so long, I'll speed you through the application of the oil. It's fairly straightforward, just a little dab of oil on a cloth, and then buffed it up to kind of help dry it in.
And the last thing we need to do there is just finish the parting off. And I'll just use my Robert Sorby parting off tool. Bring in the tool rest again. We'll take the tailstock away. Turn this lace feed down a little bit. Hold on to the piece. And we'll just take it all the way to the end. It's only a small piece. There we go. Last thing we need to do now is get rid of that little nub. Whoops. Tighten that up. And just sand this little nub away. Yeah, Robert Sorby tools have a little brass stud on the end. I haven't got any brass studs, so I won't be using that. But again, just a tiny little bit of oil. Just finish that off. And it's only a workshop tool, guys, so it doesn't need to be superbly fancily made. But as nice as you can make it. Then all we'll have to do is put the Allen key in here. And we'll give it a tap or two in with a mallet. And there we have one little tool. So let's see, does it work? Let's try and take this chuck back off. Let me unscrew that. And I'll just do up the jaws. So we'll lock this. So we'll lock up the spindle. That's it in. Lock up the spindle. Insert our tool. Make sure it's in the right place. And just give it all. There we go. That works a treat. Now, as I said, that'll work with some of my other chucks as well. I have an SC4 chuck, which doesn't have the same issue because Recordpower supply this bit down in here for putting a spanner on, but it says awkward as sin. So let's try this. That's on. And that works as well. It'll work for an SC4 chuck as well. And we're not banging on the chuck, we're just adding a little bit of pressure to get it off. So that was a treat. So here we go then. Well, Robert Sorby Patriot Chuck. One tool made, short handle, brass ferrule, and an Allen key which fits the pinion in the chuck. And it's good, fairly tight fit, so it's when you put some pressure on it, releases the chuck from the spindle. So I'm quite happy with that. There it is. One little chuck, one little handle. And that's that project completed. Thanks very much for watching. I appreciate everybody who comes in, and if you've enjoyed this little video, please give it a like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed.